Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome back once again to our ever ongoing lecture series on the glories of our most beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashtacha Deshatarane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're continuing with our mini-series on Stimulation for Ecstatic Love, and this will be part 113, in which we will continue to discuss the fourth quality of Krishna that distinguishes him from Lord Narayan, namely Rupa Madhuri, his extraordinary beauty. And today I would like to continue with our discussion on Krishna's hair. Krishna's hair. So I read recently that there are actually many synonyms for hair, the word hair in Sanskrit. For example, kesha, bhala, chikura, kacha, kuntala, shura ruha, and shura sija, etc. But of course the most commonly used term is kesha. And the literal meaning of kesha is ke mastake sete, meaning K-E, on top of the head, and sa, S-A, they rest, the hairs. As a result, one of the names of Krishna is Keshava, which translates as he who has profuse, beautiful hair. He who has profuse, beautiful hair. Now it's interesting that we also hear this term Kesha included in one of the names of Lord Nrsimhadev. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 8.6, Lord Nrsimhadev is referred to as Nri Keshari, meaning man-lion. And the term Keshari there refers to a lion who has profuse hair, like his mane, who has profuse hair, Nri Keshari. Now, the acharyas say that the beauty of Krishna's hair is due to various factors, such as it being profuse, curly, shiny and smooth, and tinged with a bluish hue. Let's repeat that again. Profuse, Krishna has profuse hair, curly hair, his hair's shiny and smooth, and it's tinged with a bluish hue. And some of these characteristics are described very nicely in Srimad Bhagavatam 2:11. There it says, Snigna Mala Kunchita Nila Kunta Lahai. Quote, he is well decorated with an ornamental wreath around his waist and rings studded with valuable jewels on his fingers, his leglets, and his bangles. His oiled hair, curling with a bluish tint, and his beautiful smiling face are all very pleasing. Now the gopis, the Braja gopis, they refer to Krishna's curly hair in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-39. Vikshya laka vrita mukham, that his head is covered with curly hair. Actually, let me recite the full verse in context so we can appreciate. The full verse is, seeing your face encircled by curling locks of hair, your cheeks beautified by earrings, your lips full of nectar, and your smiling glance, and seeing your two imposing arms, which take away our fear, and your chest, which is the only source of pleasure for the goddess of fortune, we must become your maidservants. We must become your maidservants by observing these features of Krishna. Now, our acharyas say that the hair of Krishna becomes even more beautiful. How is that possible? His hair becomes even more beautiful when covered by dust. Of course, Brajrena, the dust of Vrindavan. And I found there's reference to this in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:15, verse 42, where we hear about his hair covered by the dust raised by the walking of cows. There it's stated. Lord Krishna's hair, powdered with the dust raised by the cows, was decorated with the peacock feather and forest flowers. The Lord glanced charmingly and smiled beautifully, playing upon his flute while his companions chanted his glories. Now, the gopis also refer to his beautiful dusty hair in Srimad Bhagavatam 10, chapter 31, verse 12, where they say, "At the end of the day, you repeatedly show us your lotus face, covered with dark blue locks of hair and thickly powdered with dust." That's interesting. Thickly, not just sprinkled, but thickly powdered with dust. And these gopis again remember this same dusty hair in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:39-30. It comes up a lot actually. This is when, let me remember, Krishna's leaving for Mathura. They say, "How can we exist without Ananta's friend Krishna, who in the evening would return to Braja in the company of the cowherd boys, his hair and garland powdered with the dust raised by the cow's hooves. As he played his flute, he would captivate our minds with his smiling, sidelong glances." Wow. Now, further research in Brihad Bhagavatamrita 3:6, verse 57. We hear how Krishna casually styles his own hair using his hands while walking around Braja. And I quote here, "His lotus eyes beamed with a merciful glance, and the varied assets of beauty decorated him in a singular way." It's beautiful poetry. "The fingers of his lotus hand busily pushed back the locks of his hair, which flew about, adorned with the dust raised by the cows." So many verses referring to the dust, Brajrenu in his hair. And in Gopal Champu, by Srila Jiva Goswami, in the Purva Champu section, he gives a beautiful description of the hair of both Krishna and Balaram. He writes, "Their faces encircled by falling, curly locks of hair make splendid lotus flowers surrounded by playful bees wilt in comparison." I like that. Recite that again. "Their faces encircled by falling, curly locks of hair make splendid lotus flowers surrounded by beautiful bees wilt in comparison." And the Gopal Champu goes on to say, "Decorated with many beautiful jewels and peacock feathers, their hair," meaning Krishna and Balaram, "is like small dark clouds with stars and rainbows." Their hair is like small dark clouds with stars and rainbows. And I was also reading that Krishna's hair by itself is very fragrant. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes in Govinda Lilamrita 155. This is nice. "Lord Hari's face was decorated with a gentle, sweet smile, eyes languid with bliss, glistening earrings, moving locks of hair fragrant as lotus flowers, and teeth marked with Srimati Radharani's black eye cosmetics." So there's a lot of detail. We're going to get into more detail here. Love is in the details. That really applies to Krishna consciousness. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes that the cowherd boys, Sugandha and Kar Puraka, are the actual hairstylists of Krishna. How do we know? In Govinda Lilamrita 361, Madhya Yasoda is saying, "O barbers," meaning barbers, they're older cowherd men, "Sugandha and Karpuraka, please anoint the bodies and hair of Krishna and Balaram with cooling, fragrant Amalaki oil." So they're barbers, but she's asking them to arrange Krishna's hair. This amalaki actually refers, here in India we call it Indian gooseberry. Indian gooseberry. But actually the entire process of decorating Krishna's limbs and his hair is described in detail in Govinda Lilamrita chapter 4, verses 9 to 19, as follows. It's a long description, but this is what we're here for. This is Shravanam Kirtanam brings Krishna Smaranam. As Lord Krishna sat on a nice seat, Patraka poured scented water from a golden pitcher in his hands, as Patri washed the Lord's lotus feet and then dried them with a towel. Kushuri's son, named Subandha, then affectionately massaged Krishna's delicate limbs with Narayan oil. Wow, Narayan oil. Slowly and carefully, handsome Sugandha then anointed Lord Krishna's naturally cool limbs with glistening, cooling yellow butter. Yellow butter. The affectionate servant Karpuraka then anointed Lord Krishna's beautiful hair with glossy, cool, aromatic amalaka pulp, as we described, and Payoda poured cool water. Raktaka washed Lord Krishna's naturally cool, splendid, and delicate limbs, scrubbing them with a silk washcloth. The servants then bathed their master Krishna with delicately scented water from a series of golden pitchers. Golden complexioned Patri then dried Lord Krishna's beautiful limbs and hair with a soft towel and dressed him in fine garments. Then Lord Krishna sat down on a nicely cleansed chair in the bathing room. Apparently there's a special room, a bathing room. Kumuda and Dhamma then combed his tangled hair and scented it with aguru incense. Makarandra then decorated Lord Krishna's forehead with tilak markings drawn in gorochana and musk. He anointed the Lord's body with sandalwood paste, aguru, kumkuma, and musk. Premakanda then placed chankana armlets on Lord Krishna's arms and glitterly sharp-shaped golden earrings on his ears. He placed ankle bells whose tingling sounds are more charming than a swan's cooing on Lord Krishna's ankles, and placed a necklace of star-like pearls on the sky of Lord Krishna's chest. I love that. And placed a necklace with star-like pearls on the sky of Lord Krishna's chest. Who wants to hear anything else than Krishna Katha? As Mother Yasoda caught glimpses of her son, she became overwhelmed with love for him. She urged these servants to perform their duties quickly, and she also became busily engaged in various services. Wow. Hare Krishna. Now, here's something interesting. Oh, that was interesting, but Ananda Buddhi Bhagavanam Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is ecstatic when it's expanding. One method I found this, one method of tying up Krishna's hair, because it's very long, is to tie it up, is mentioned by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jaiva Dharma, chapter 28. He writes, Devipala Bhada Kesheshascha Giriva Palo Parishpuran Chanda Karash Padat Bhala Tilaka Laka Ranjita. Quote, then the servants gathered Lord Krishna's hair from his forehead to his neck and tied it up in a top knot. They made the moon of his forehead splendid with tilak and curling locks of hair. It's recited again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then the servants gathered Lord Krishna's hair from his forehead to his neck and tied it up top on a top knot. They made the moon of his forehead splendid with tilak and curling locks of hair. So often we hear Krishna's hair is curly. Now in Shukasharishtava, we've quoted this book many times. Shukasharishtava, verse 106. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes, the graceful black bee garland of locks of hair that plays above Lord Gopinath's forehead has become a great net where the fisherman Kamadev catches the safari fishes of the gopis' eyes. Safari fishes of the gopis' eyes. So, by hearing all this nectar about Krishna's hair, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that devotees always wish to render service to the hair of Krishna. We hear about it. We hear about all these Nityasiddhas, eternally liberated souls serving Krishna in this way, and that it may arouse a desire in our hearts to do the same. He writes in Gita Vali 239 as follows: sometimes, due to the reckless sporting of your amorous games, your hair will fall loose. Heeding your gesture towards me, I will then redecorate your lovely tresses with peacock tail feathers, and in this way I will remain submerged and drowned in pure ecstasy. I will remain submerged and drowned in pure ecstasy. When and when will that day be ours? By Prabhupada's mercy. So in these ways, dear devotees, there are many verses describing Krishna's, Keshava's beautiful hair. So I think we'll finish today with two newly composed verses by my dear scholarly friend, Hari Prasad Das, on the nature of Krishna's transcendental crookedness with a reference to his hair. It's quite deep and esoteric, but it fits perfectly into this lecture. He writes, Shri Radha is standing in a straightforward manner with you, whose body is curved in 3 places. As she runs her hand through your curly hair, she only desires your happiness. O Damodar, seeing your neglectful behavior towards her, I am unable to decide where exactly the highest degree of crookedness lies within you. Does it lie within your body, your hair, or your heart? I now understand, O Hari, when crookedness resides constantly in a person's heart, everything related to him, his body, hair, etc., automatically starts attaining crookedness. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Hari Prasad Prabhu. So we'll finish today, but the more we go into this treasure chest of Prabhupada's books and the writings of our Goswamis, the more jewels we find. So I have more to say about Krishna's hair. So stay tuned next week, part 3 on Krishna's hair. Thank you so much. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtanya ki, Nitai Gaur Pimanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Shyam.